Daniel Carter had become an expert at fixing other people's problems. Computers that refused to start. Networks that suddenly crashed. Servers that stopped working minutes before important meetings. His coworkers joked that if Daniel couldn't repair it, no one could. But there was one part of life he had never figured out how to fix. Loneliness. For years earlier, his wife, Sarah, had passed away after a long battle with illness. Since then, every decision Daniel made centered around one person. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Every morning began at 6 o'clock. Daniel packed Lily's lunch while she sleepily brushed her teeth. Together they made pancakes every Friday. Every evening ended with homework, dinner, and a bedtime story. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was full of love. Lily often smiled and said, "We're a really good team, Dad." Daniel always answered, "The best." After dropping Lily at school, Daniel worked as the senior IT technician at Orion Technologies. He enjoyed solving technical problems far more than office politics. While coworkers competed for promotions, Daniel quietly helped everyone. He fixed printers, recovered lost files, stayed late whenever a deadline approached. Despite his talent, few executives even knew his name. The company had recently been purchased by Lawson Innovations, a global technology corporation. With the acquisition came a new CEO, Victoria Lawson. Employees described her with 3 words: brilliant, demanding, unapproachable. Stories about her spread quickly. She reportedly remembered every employee's performance review. She asked difficult questions during meetings. She expected excellence from everyone. No one had ever seen her chatting casually around the office. Daniel had never met her. He preferred it that way. One rainy Thursday afternoon, nearly everyone had gone home. Daniel remained in the IT department replacing a damaged server component while Lily sat nearby, finishing her math homework. The security guards already knew her by name. Whenever Daniel worked late, Lily quietly colored pictures or read books in the office. "Dad," she looked up from her notebook. "Can we still make homemade pizza tonight?" Daniel smiled without looking away from the computer. "Absolutely. As soon as this server behaves itself." Lily giggled. "I think computers listen better when you ask nicely. I'll try that." Just then Daniel's phone buzzed repeatedly. His younger sister, Emma, had sent 6 messages in less than 2 minutes. "Emma, help. Emma, I'm panicking. Emma, blind date starts in 20 minutes. Emma, I think I'm leaving." Daniel laughed. His sister had avoided dating for years after a painful breakup. Their mother had finally convinced her to meet someone. Daniel quickly wiped his hands, unlocked his phone, and replied while still concentrating on the repair. "Daniel, relax. Daniel, just smile. Daniel, anyone who gets to spend an evening with you is already lucky." Emma replied instantly. "Emma, easy for you to say. Emma, I'm terrified." Daniel grinned. He typed one more playful message. "Daniel, honestly, if I weren't your brother, I'd probably be asking you out myself." He added, "Daniel, those beautiful eyes could convince anyone." Without checking the conversation, he pressed send. Then he returned to tightening the final screw inside the server. 5 seconds later, his phone vibrated. Not once, 3 times. Daniel casually glanced at the screen. His smile disappeared instantly. The message hadn't gone to Emma. Earlier that afternoon, Human Resources had created a temporary executive messaging group to prepare for the CEO's first company-wide systems audit. Daniel had exchanged one brief message with Victoria Lawson about network access. When Emma's chat shifted lower on his screen, he accidentally opened the wrong conversation. Every playful compliment, every awkward sentence, had been sent directly to the company's famously reserved CEO. Daniel whispered, "Oh, no." Lily looked up. "What happened?" He slowly showed her the screen. She read the message. Her eyes became enormous. "You texted the boss." Daniel closed his eyes. "I texted the biggest boss." He immediately began typing. "I'm terribly sorry. That message was intended for my sister. Please ignore it." Before he could press send, 3 tiny dots appeared. The CEO was already replying. Daniel swallowed nervously. Her message arrived. "Victoria Lawson, interesting." Nothing more. Just one word. Daniel stared at the screen. "What does that mean?" Lily whispered dramatically. "I don't think that's good." Daniel sighed. "Neither do I." Before he could decide whether to call Human Resources or simply resign in embarrassment, a knock echoed through the nearly empty IT office. The clock on the wall showed exactly 5 minutes had passed since the mistaken text. Daniel opened the door. Standing outside was Victoria Lawson herself. She was still wearing the navy business suit from that afternoon's executive meeting. In one hand, she held her phone. The screen displayed Daniel's accidental message. For several long seconds, neither of them spoke. Then, to Daniel's complete surprise, the woman employees described as cold, distant, and impossible to read slowly smiled. A genuine smile that no one in the company seemed to have witnessed before. She looked directly into his eyes, held up the phone, and quietly said, "So, tell me again, about those beautiful eyes." Daniel felt his face turn bright red. "I am so sorry. That message was meant for my sister." Victoria looked at him for another moment. Then, to his complete surprise, she laughed. Not a polite smile. A real laugh. The kind that made her shoulders relax. Employees walking past the hallway stopped in disbelief. None of them had ever seen their CEO laugh. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "I've probably just ended my career." Victoria shook her head. "Actually, you've given me the funniest moment I've had in months." She glanced down at Lily, who was quietly hiding behind her father. "And you must be Lily." Lily nodded shyly. "Hi." Victoria smiled warmly. "So you're the young lady keeping your dad company while he works late." Lily grinned. "He makes really good pizza." Daniel sighed. "She shares that information with everyone." Victoria laughed again. "I like pizza." The three stood talking for several minutes. For the first time in years, Victoria wasn't discussing quarterly reports, board meetings, or company acquisitions. She simply had an ordinary conversation. Before leaving, she looked at Daniel. "I know the message was an accident, but thank you." Daniel looked puzzled. "For what?" She smiled softly. "It reminded me that someone can say something kind without wanting anything in return." After she left, Lily whispered, "I think she likes you." Daniel laughed. "I think she's just very forgiving." Over the next few weeks, Daniel occasionally crossed paths with Victoria around the office. Sometimes she stopped by the IT department to ask a question she easily could have emailed. Other times, she joined Daniel and Lily for coffee in the company cafe after school. Employees couldn't understand the change. The CEO, who had once walked through the building without speaking, now smiled more often. She learned the receptionist's name, thanked the cleaning staff, asked employees about their families. The atmosphere throughout the company slowly changed. One afternoon, Victoria visited the IT office carrying a pizza box. Lily's eyes widened. "You remembered." Victoria smiled. "You said homemade pizza was your favorite." The three shared lunch together. During the conversation, Victoria quietly admitted something. "Most people only talk to me because of my position. They tell me what they think I want to hear. You were the first person in years who accidentally treated me like an ordinary human being." Daniel smiled. "I suppose that's one advantage of sending messages to the wrong person." She laughed. "I suppose it is." As months passed, friendship slowly grew into something deeper. Victoria admired Daniel's devotion to Lily. Daniel admired Victoria's intelligence, kindness, and willingness to let people see the person behind the title. Neither rushed the relationship. Lily naturally became part of it. The three visited science museums, cooked dinners together, volunteered at community events. One evening, while watching the sunset from a park bench, Lily quietly looked at Victoria. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you think my mom would mind if Dad smiled this much again?" Victoria gently squeezed Lily's hand. "I think your mom would probably be very happy." Daniel looked away for a moment, holding back tears. A year later, during the company's annual celebration, Victoria stood on stage before hundreds of employees. She smiled toward Daniel, who stood beside Lily in the audience. "I've spent most of my career believing perfection was the key to success. Then someone accidentally sent me a text that was never meant for me." The audience laughed. "That mistake reminded me that genuine kindness, honesty, and family matter more than perfect plans." She stepped down from the stage and walked toward Daniel. "This time, I'd like to ask the question." She smiled. "Would you and Lily have dinner with me tonight?" Daniel grinned. "I'd love to." Lily laughed. "I knew it." Years later, whenever friends asked how they first met, Victoria always smiled before telling the story. "The best message I ever received was one that wasn't meant for me." People remembered the story because a single dad accidentally sent a flirty text to his company's cold CEO. But those who knew the whole story understood that the real turning point wasn't the mistaken message. It was the kindness, honesty, and laughter that followed, proving that sometimes life's happiest chapters begin with an accident, a sincere apology, and the courage to simply be yourself.